But if I did, the one that I would want is probably one you wouldn't expect. The superpower I would want is luck. Because if you're lucky, then you have everything. Whatever you do, it turns out fine because you're lucky. Nothing bad happens because you're lucky. So maybe I should come up with, maybe that's an idea for a new...
Long shot.
Long shot.
Mr. Lucky.
There's a character just like that. Long
First, because
shot.
he's faster than I am. You'll see it on his show, and it'll be a guest star, and I'll have lost it. But anyway, that's the power I would really like. Luck.
Thank you very much.
See, I'm lucky today. We've got a big audience. I'm here with Jamie. The sun is shining. Everybody seems happy. I got a quick
Stan, that's not luck. That's skill, and you got it. Anyways, I'm a big reader of DC also. Green Lantern. Loved your Just Imagine series when you released that. If you had the option of making any of your Just Imagine characters into an ongoing, which one would it be?
Before I answer, I have to tell you something. Years ago, I heard perfectly. I had great hearing. Now, as you get older, what happens, I heard your voice, but the words don't sound clear when they come through the microphone. If I were talking to you, I'd hear everything you said. So, Jamie, would you just would you translate?
Absolutely. Repeat that one for me one more time. Okay.
Because he wasn't listening.
See? You have skill. I don't. All right. If you can put any of your Just Imagine characters when you re-release the Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, and such, and made them into an ongoing, which character would you? No, he did it Just Imagine. If you can make any of those characters into an ongoing, which one do you pick and why?
If I could make Superman or Batman ongoing, what do you mean? They are on. Aren't they still being published?
I meant your versions, boss. Man. I meant your versions of the characters, the ones that you did for DC.
I did. You probably didn't see it. I don't know how many years ago, DC asked me to do a series called, I don't remember what they called it, but something like, if I had made up the characters, how would I write them? Well, what's the question? I'm just going to answer it. What are you asking?
The question is, I know you made all the characters. Which one would you like to have kept on going? Like, if you could have...
which would I have wanted to keep going? All of them. I thought I did a great job on all of them.
I would say that you're the first one to actually make Aquaman interesting to me, so I give you great credit for that.
I love writing those, and I've often thought some of them would make great movies, but they can't do it because they can't contradict the way their characters really are, and I can't make a movie of it because they belong to DC, so those great ideas are in limbo somewhere, and I guess unless they reprint them, nobody will ever see them. What a pity. And they were so great. I forgot to tell you, I'm my biggest fan.
In the new Captain America upcoming movie, where would you appear in it?
Oh, am I? It's a great one. I can't tell you what it is. But you'll get a kick out of it when you see it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You know, I did. I was at a convention somewhere, and I stupidly told what one of my future cameos was. And I don't think I should have done that. I think the studio will probably be angry when they find out. So don't tell them if you know about it. So I'm not supposed to tell what any cameos are. And I'm not in, I'll tell you another thing. I'm not in the X-Men. I don't have a cameo in that.
Aww.
So what I was telling Jamie, I think they purposely did that for a reason. They figure the people who go to see the X-Men when they leave the theater, they're going to say, hey, I just realized I didn't see Stan's cameo. I must have missed it. And they'll buy another ticket. So the X-Men will do twice as much business as any other movie. It was very clever.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. The question that I have for you is that of all of the characters that you have created, is there anyone that you would have done differently now over the past few years?
I heard the whole thing until, is there anyone and I missed it? That's a good question. No. I love them all. I think they're wonderful. Seriously, I can't think of anything I would have changed. And maybe when I get home, something will come to me. You'll have to have another convention so I can
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I heard everything you said until the last part. Maybe my hearing's improving.
If the producers of Big Bang Theory asked you to come back for another episode, would you want to team up with Will Wheaton to get back at Sheldon?
Maybe it happens on my show first. That's how it's going.
Chuck Lorre, the producer, had asked me, said he would try to get another cameo for me, but I guess so much else has been going on. You know, he also does that thing with Sheen's brother-in-law or something. Then 2.5 men. So he's been busy. But, and I'd love to do, and I want you all to write a lot of mail to this guy. I want to do another cameo on his show, too.
And are you going to be on the final season of Chuck?
I'm going to be
I'm going to take that to no.
Nobody so called Chuck.
I don't know.
All right, we're moving right along.
It's going to drive me crazy.
I just know what it is.
Have I been on it? I haven't done any of it.
Oh my God, that's cool.
Well, I was trying to think, is there a show I was on? And there is interview. It's not nice of you to confuse a guy. I got my shirt. You mustn't confuse me.
Stan Lee, last year I thanked you for all the characters you created. This year I have to make a confession. There is one character above all heroes that I like more than your Marvel superheroes. And that is Fat Mama.
Oh, from the show, Who Wants to Be a Superhero?
Yes, yes,
Well, she was pretty good. I have no problem with that.
Back then, I had asked a question, and you said you would take the idea back that was mentioned in it to, quote-unquote, the boys in the office. And it was...
Take the idea back.
He had an idea last year
for a team of superheroes with disabilities like autism and Down syndrome. And I was wondering, what happened?
Team of superheroes. Obviously, you know, when you do anything like this, excuse me, you have to get somebody to pay to print and publish it. I came up with the idea and I suggested it to a few people, but it fell on deaf ears. Nobody wanted it financed. So at the moment, it's nowhere. And I'm sorry.
You know that it exists. Thank you.
We have, you can do a team, you can do one handicapped person like Daredevil. You do it in a certain way. And frankly, I'm working on another character now that might be put in that category. But somehow a whole team of them, it just seemed to scare the people who pay for these things. And I have not been able to get that idea across. Sorry.
How did it feel to see your comics turned into live-action movies?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you know the best thing about it? All those great directors and producers and special effects men and actors, they do all the work, and I get so much of the credit. It's a wonderful arrangement. To answer your question, it feels great. It really does. Years ago, when we were doing these characters, never in a million years would we have thought that they'd ever be on the screen. I mean, we just hoped the books would sell and we'd keep our jobs. So it's been quite a ride for us.
I just have to say, it is an incredible honor to be in your presence, Stan. I'm one of the many fans who grew up with your comic books, with your TV shows, movies, everything. There was one show that I actually really enjoyed as much as everybody put it down. I was honestly curious if you ever planned on making a new season of Who Wants to Be a Superhero, because I'd love to be on that show.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm afraid that one's gone. You know what happened? It didn't do that well in this country. They loved it in England. So they tried to produce it with teenagers. The same idea. They called it Who Wants to Be a Superhero, but with teenagers. And it really didn't work there either. So it's been given up. But I have a new show you may have heard of called Stanley's Superhumans.
I love that show as well.
And that one looks like it's going to be a big hit. It's on the History Channel. They didn't think much of it, I think, in the first season. They didn't promote it. But then they realized it was getting great ratings. So now for the second season, which will start in the fall, they're going to do all kind of publicity and promotion, and I think it's going to be a hit show. So it'll take the place of Who Wants to Be a Superhero, maybe.
Well, I just wanted to say, if you ever do decide to make a new season, I'd love to be on that show. It's
And in case you forgot, the name is Stanley's Superhumans. History Channel, don't miss it, I'll be checking on you.
Hi, Stan. I wanted to talk about, I'm a big fan of this little phenomenon called Japanese anime. And
Yeah.
you have something for that called Hero Man. I was wondering, where did you come up with the very, very original title? And do you think it was a success in Japan and it got a simulcast here, or do you think we do other things like this? We also had a cameo on that.
I heard most of it, but not all. Where did I come up with it?
Just, where do you come up with the name, and how do you think it was a success?
Which name, Hero Man? You do not feel that that's the most sophisticated title. I detect that in your tone of voice. I thought that the Japanese persons would like the title, and apparently they did. And I was doing it for a Japanese company, so I wanted to make them happy. They liked the name Hero Man.
Hero Man.
And what was the other one? It was successful, and we're in the process now of seeing about selling it in this country, so you'll be seeing it here. But about me being happy with it, I'm never happy with anything that anybody else does. I always feel it should have been done this way or that way. It's done very much in the Japanese style, which is a good style, and it's good for the Japanese. But I think I would have made a few changes in it, but it's still a good show. And when it comes over here, I think I'll be able to make the changes I want, so it'll be good for the audience here. But they did a good job, and they like it in Japan. And you're not supposed to say, I don't know why.
I actually like this show, so thank you very much.
Okay, and you're a great human being for adding that last phrase.
You're right.
I have a quick question.
I can't see.
I studied humanities and sociology for a long time, and I've been wondering, a lot of your comics, especially, let's say, X-Men, things like that, they tackle very big issues, usually big issues that concern civil rights, the treatment of others, and things such as that. I was wondering if, at all, were those like major roles, or they really, I guess, surmounted, or they built up like those roles or those characters, like X-Men, let's say, for that. Would you say that civil rights or things such as that, equalities, things like that, were major drives in making it?
Could you summarize that? No, it's the funniest thing. I hear the voice, and I hear, could you say that, and that's what it sounds like. It's this damn microphone. If somebody talks to me, not with the mic, it's clear to me, but this does something in my ears that it muffles everything. Anyway, you're not interested in my ailments, so. Secondarily, the first thing I would ever think of is what can I write, what can I come up with that people will be interested in, what kind of superpowers can I get that people would care about, and how do I make the characters the kind of characters that a reader can relate to. Once that's established, then you say to yourself, okay, what kind of stories am I going to tell? Where can I get a good villain, which is as important or more important than the heroes? You have to have great villains. And then you start to write the story, and you say to yourself, well, gosh, here are these good guys, and nobody likes them, and they're really doing the best they can, but people hate them because they're different. And I thought to myself, that really reflects on society, where people hate other people because they have a different religion, or they're from a different nationality, or because a blonde hates a redhead, or who knows why. Anybody who's different. And I thought that would be a good thing to play up in the series, but I shouldn't say play up, to mention, to add in the series, but not hit anybody over the head with it. So I tried to make it a theme that any thinking person might be aware of it, without making it seem as though the stories are lectures, because nobody likes to be lectured to. In fact, I can see how bored you're all getting now. Lecturing, and I'll stop, I promise. Okay, it was nice. Good night.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm really short, sorry. This question is actually coming from myself and my 14-year-old nephew, Kylie, who could not be here.
It's important that we know who the question is coming from. What is your nephew's name?
Kylie Kellerman.
Okay, continue.
Okay. He has a question, and it started to, go in my mind. What is the Spider-Man comic book that stands out the most in your mind out of all the comic books that you have made, and why?
Well, I heard that whole thing. I see if people are females, they have a higher
So what you're saying is that you can hear the females, but not the males. That's interesting to me.
after the show. That's right. You didn't think this was turning into a medical conclave, did you? Anyway, I don't have one story that stands out in my mind, but it's funny, there's one cover that does. And my favorite Spider-Man cover is when he decided to stop being Spider-Man. And I think we called it, the name of it was Spider-Man No More. And it shows him in his civilian clothes, walking away from the reader in an alley, and there's a garbage pail, a trash can, and his Spider-Man costume is draped over the trash can. And I asked John Romita to draw something like that. And I think what he drew was a masterpiece. And strangely, every time I think of Spider-Man, that's the cover I think of. So maybe that, I don't even remember the story that well, but maybe that's my favorite story because of the cover.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you need a drink, then shut up a while and let you do it. This is the nicest guy. You know, he is so tolerant. I don't understand anybody being like that if I was up here. This is your coat.
Who inspired you to come up with the Hulk, and how did you come up with them?
I really am not a guy who gets inspirations. Some people imagine sometimes writers walking the street and suddenly, I've got an inspiration. I never get inspirations. Somebody says, we need a new story, so I go home, I sit and I scratch my head and I try to think of one. With the Hulk, we had already done Spider-Man, and I think we had done X-Men. I think the Hulk might have been third, I'm not sure. But we needed something else. And I said what everybody says, what can I do that's different? We already had a guy who could burst into flame and fly. We had a guy whose body stretched. We had the strongest guy around, you know, the usual. And I figured, I gotta get something different. So I remembered, I had always liked the Frankenstein movie with Boris Karloff. I always thought that the monster was really the good guy. He didn't want to hurt anybody, but those idiots with torches were always chasing him. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun to have a monster who's a good guy? But then I figured, well, you can't just have a monster running around all the time. So then I remembered I had always loved Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I thought, what if the monster turns into a regular human being? And back and forth. And the monster hates his other self. And the normal human being hates the monster and would like to cure himself of turning into the monster. So it was an inspiration. It was just scratching my head and thinking and kind of working it out. And that's how it happened. And I can't think of anything else.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Lee. I'm wondering what the backstory was of how you decided to work with Arnold Schwarzenegger for your upcoming comic series, The Governor.
Let me get back to the Hulk for 1 minute. No, I'll get to Schwarzenegger in a minute. But I just thought of something. Even the name, the Hulk, I remember there had been a comic book years ago, published by another company that featured somebody called the Heap. I don't remember who or what it was. He looked like the Swamp Thing, but they called him the Heap, and I always thought that's a great name. So I thought the Hulk sounded like the Heap, and there it was, and that's why I called him the Hulk. Now about Schwarzenegger. Somebody came to me and said that Arnold is kind of a fan, and now that he's not governor anymore, why don't we do an animated cartoon, and I know Arnold, and I'll introduce you, and you talk, and somehow it all came about. We were going to do a cartoon series called The Governator, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was very interested. He got excited. We went up to his office, and we had meetings, and we did sketches, and we produced a book with all the pictures and story ideas. It was going to be good. Then this happened. Unfortunately, we're not going to do the cartoon anymore. However, we got the cartoonists, we got the animation studio, we have everybody who's ready to go. So instead of letting them go to waste, we'll try to think of something else. So instead of the governor, the next time I come here and I'm on a panel, I'll tell you about the new cartoon show we have. Unfortunately,
would you ever give us a hint of who the villain will be in the Avengers movie? Would you be willing to give us a hint of who the central villain in the upcoming Avengers movie will be? Okay.
I don't know. No, I would probably tell you because I can't keep a secret. I gotta also mention, he was the nicest guy. He was very pleasant to talk to, intelligent as hell. I think he can speak perfect English, but he gave a distinction, you know. I was very, very surprised and really disappointed because I thought he was a hell of a good guy. Enough about Arnold. Okay, now I give it to him.
So, in your original Spider-Man comics, you always made sure that you didn't just show the superhero side, you wanted to make sure you showed like their problems in their real life outside of being a superhero. Did you ever have trouble like not having too much action but not having too much of his real life so that it stayed like perfect medium?
All I could make out was, did you ever have?
That's all.
No, that's just writing stories. That's what every writer does. You can't, when you do a superhero story or any kind of an action story, you can't just have one action scene after another. There has to be something about the characters' personal lives and how they get into this and how they get out of this and what are their problems and hopes and aspirations and frustrations. You need all of that. So it's not just me, that's what everybody does when they write a story. They figure, okay, here's the problem. If it's a superhero story, here's the villain. If it's just a normal story, here's the problem. And the hero or heroine is faced with it. How are they going to solve it? How are they going to get out of it? And what personal elements in their lives will make the story interesting, besides the fact that they're just trying to solve the problem. Did I say that confusingly? Did I say it beautifully? I articulated it well. I was sincere and it was heartfelt.
Hello, Stan Lee. So many of your characters use technology. Some of them use it a lot. Do you consider yourself technologically advanced?
I am the dumbest guy. I mean, how did the Fantastic Four become the Fantastic Four? They were slapped with cosmic rays. How did the Hulk become the Hulk? He was hit with a gamma ray. I wouldn't know a gamma ray if it hit me in the... I don't even know what those rays are. Spider-Man, radioactive spider. That's the extent of my scientific. Wait, I'll tell you one thing, though. Oh, wait a minute. I'll show you how much more scientific Marvel is than I am than DC. I'll give you a concrete example. We have two characters that fly. There are two characters that fly. Superman, Thor, right?
Right.
Superman flies with no visible means of propulsion. He just assumes this pose. Marvel and I, ultimately scientific. I gave Thor a hammer with a leather thong attached to it. He swings that hammer so fast it's like a propeller. Then he lets it go. And naturally, the hammer goes flying off into space. But the thong is attached. So he pulls Thor over. Technical wizard around right now. Thank you for recognizing me.
I was just wondering, which was your favorite cameo in a movie?
I think I have two favorites. You know, I'm drinking this out of nervousness. I don't even like coffee. My favorite cameo had been, well, I think I like them all, the one where I'm talking to Spider-Man and I say, yes, one man can make a difference. Enough said. I might add the director added the enough said, which I thought was very nice of him. And I love the cameo in Thor, because everybody thinks you didn't know it could drive a truck. This is strange audience.
Why can't DC and Marvel be friends or just one big
My friend, we are friends. This is just kidding around. Most of the people who work, well, not anymore, because I'm sort of out of it. I don't know most of the new writers and artists, but when I was working there, we would get together with a lot of the DC guys. I would get together, Carmine Infantino was the editor in those days of DC. And I would meet Carmine in New York, and a couple of his assistant editors and whatever artists were free, and I'd have Ramita with me or one of our guys. And we'd go to a bar called Friar Tuck, and we'd have drinks, and we'd talk and kid around. And most of the artists would go back and forth. The guy would work for DC for a while, then he'd work for us, and we were all friends. But it was more fun, as it is today, to make it seem as if it's a big feud. People are really naturally very hostile. And it's more entertaining. But, I mean, the guys at DC, they're geniuses. Some of the artwork, some of their stories are great. But I'll never admit it. But we're all friends, really.
I mean, why can't the characters, there was like five.
They are. Years ago, it wasn't easy to do, but I managed to put together, after months of haggling with lawyers and publishers and people, we put together a book, Spider-Man and Superman, together in one issue. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It was a big and the biggest fight was whose name would come first on the cover. So we compromised. I forget whose name came first, but whichever name it was, on the inside of the book, the other name was first, and on and on. And the book sold very well. And I thought we ought to do a lot of them, but the lawyers said it was too complicated to get all the rights in order, and we didn't. But it would be fun to do stories. People are always saying to me, who'd win in a fight, Thor or Superman, Batman or Spider-Man, on and on. And I can't tell them. I do not know the answer. In fact, people would always ask me, who'd win a fight, The Thing or Galactus or Iron Man or this one? And I finally had to come up with a phony answer, because there is no answer, so I would say, it depends on who's writing the story.
Iron Man, because he's awesome.
Why not one big company?
Why not one big company?
What was your inspiration or the idea that made you come up with Fantastic Four?
Well, my publisher said that DC Comics had a book called The Justice League, I thought, Justice Society or something like that. And it was selling very well. And he said, why don't we do a book with a few heroes in one story? So at that time, we didn't have any superheroes. I think we were doing monster books at that time. So I said, okay, but I couldn't take a superhero from different books and put them together like the Justice League. I had to make up a team of superheroes to begin with because we didn't have any others. So I figured I would try to do it differently. For example, the man with a superpower, Mr. Fantastic, he wouldn't keep it a secret like Clark Kent that he's really a superhero. And the girl would know who he is. And in fact, they'd be engaged to be married. And she'd have a superpower too, just like if Lois Lane had a superpower. Then I felt, I want to get a teenager in there, but I'll tell you a secret. I hate teenage sidekicks. I always felt if I were a superhero, there's no way I would hang with a teenager. And at the very least, people would talk. They always feel if you have a teenager in the story, then teenagers will read the story. You know, it's nonsense. There were no teenagers in Robin Hood. In any famous story in the world, they didn't throw teenagers in there. But anyway, so I figured I'll have a teenager, but I'll let him be one of the superheroes, and I'll make him the brother of the girl who's engaged to the man. Then I figured I want a guy who's real strong, but I'll make him half monster, but I'll make him funny, but he's tragic funny. Now that I think of it, I set a very tough project for myself. But anyway, that's what I was thinking of, because I wanted it to be different. And I did it, and that was it. We were lucky, and it worked. Mainly, I think, because Jack Kirby drew it so beautifully. And there we go. You're welcome.
How did you think of the concept for Ultimo?
Ultimo was the Japanese thing. Isn't that Japanese comic I'm doing?
Yeah.
Sometimes they all get homogenized in my mind. And somebody asked me if I would come up with something for Japanese publishing. And I thought the word Ultimo was a good name. And I wrote the outline of what I thought it should be. Because the Japanese love things that are symbolic and metaphysical and so forth. So I figured I'd have somebody who represented the ultimate force for good, opposed to somebody who represented the ultimate force for evil. And I don't remember, I think the good one was supposed to be Ultimo, but I think they changed that. And that was it. I just gave them the idea, and then they had their own writer and artist run with it. So they've been doing it. It's been very successful. And they even have English versions now that are sold in this country. And if it's a big success, I'll take the credit for it. If it isn't, I don't know what to do with it.
One last thing. Is Ultimo a boy or a girl?
You know, I don't know. No, I'm not sure who Ultimo is, because I don't know if Ultimo is the good one or the bad one or some other character in the story that I haven't met yet. Frankly, both of them, the way the artist drew them, they both look a little bit effeminate to me. Both of the good and the bad character. They weren't the way I had envisioned them. I can't explain it. You can go out and get a copy of Ultimo and know exactly what I'm talking about.
Thank you.
I have a feeling that was a very unsatisfactory answer. I'm ashamed of myself. And I never thought of it. I really don't know which one is Ultimo. I don't know who Ultimo is. But it was my name. I better go and read that again.
Hello, it's an honor. You've said that one of your favorite superheroes that you created was Spider-Man, and I've always loved Iron Man. But who is your favorite superhero in which you did not have any part in creating?
Well, if I didn't create it, it wouldn't be my favorite. There was a character that DC had, and I don't think they have him anymore, so maybe it didn't work well. I thought he was great, and I don't remember his name. Maybe you've seen it a few years ago.
I was checking the power level.
He was the roughest, toughest guy. He was a bad guy.
Lobo!
What was it? Lobo! Yeah! Lobo was great. I wish I had made that up. And that shows what I know.
Lobo
The
was
thing
cool.
probably died.
He's funny.
But that was a good character. I can't think of any others.
One more question. You look great for your age. What is your secret to your longevity?
Well, I'll tell you, the thing that keeps you in condition is worry. But you can't do it casually. I have a formula. You must spend 1 hour a day dedicated to worrying. You just lock yourself in a room if you must, because you don't want to be disturbed. And you do intensive worrying. Now, the minute the hour is over, you stop, and until the next day at that time, you don't worry about a goddamn thing.
Oh, it's a lame question. I'm sorry. Okay. I was just hoping you would start talking about your pre-superhero stuff, your funny animal comics. What was it like to work on Ziggy Pig with Al Jaffe? Could you describe that experience?
Al Jaffe, he and I worked on animated type comics and humor comics.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, he was a genius. He was wonderful. We did a strip called, I still remember, Silly Seal and Ziggy Pig. Now a classic. I can't remember any details, but again, I would give him just the rough idea of what I wanted. He would draw it, then I would put in the dialogue, and I think we did one called Super Rabbit, you know, things that have become classics. But there was a time before the superheroes at Marvel in the early days that we did a lot of animated books and teenage books. You all know Archie. Well, we had books like Millie the Model and Nellie the Nurse and I think Georgie and Willie, and they were all like Archie. They were copies of Archie, except of course I think we did it better. And there was a period we did so many, and Terry Tunes. We did Heckle and Jekyll and Mighty Mouse. I loved doing those. But then we got to do crime books and war books and romance books and then super westerns. We did 1 million westerns. The superheroes became popular. It's a funny thing. All the other type of books and all the other genres, whether western or horror or mystery, they would last a few months or a year or two, and another genre would replace them. But ever since the superheroes came along, they have been the most popular, best-selling ones of all. They've outsold everything else, and they continue to do that. So for some reason, superhero stories are certainly, apparently, the most popular type of stories there are. That's very, I hope you were all taking notes.
I'm afraid that's the last time and the last question we have to go, so thank you.
I just noticed a bad thing. I think there's somebody microphone in front of my face, and the photographs are going to come out terrible. So can we do this all over again?
Wait. This was awesome.